stop whatever you're doing. Because what erupted on that Cleveland sideline has officially turned into the biggest scandal of the Browns season. Cameras only showed a glimpse of it, but behind the scenes, we're talking a meltdown so explosive that the front office is scrambling, teammates are whispering, and ownership is furious. And the player at the center of this chaos isn't some backup or practice squad name. It's the guy Cleveland invested millions into and expected to be a leader. What Jerry Jeudy did wasn't just a heated moment or a disagreement in the heat of battle. It was a direct shot at the quarterback the Browns have quietly built their future around. And insiders are saying that this could change everything about the direction of the franchise. Because when you publicly challenge the player the owner believes in most, you're not just crossing a line, you're detonating a bomb. Fans saw the confrontation live, millions watched the clip spread online, and the reaction coming from inside that locker room is even stronger than anything the cameras captured. This wasn't frustration, this wasn't passion, this was disrespect at the worst possible time, directed at the worst possible target. And now the entire organization has to respond. Because the fallout from this moment isn't going away, and what happens next could make or break the Browns' season. It all went down late in the game, when tensions were already boiling over. The Browns were trailing, the offense was sputtering, and every mistake felt like a punch to the gut. Shedeur Sanders, making just his second career NFL start, was doing exactly what a composed quarterback is supposed to do, sitting with his tablet, breaking down plays, and trying to find a way to save the night. He wasn't complaining, he wasn't pointing fingers, he was locked in, doing the job. Then out of nowhere, here comes Jerry Jeudy storming over like a man on a mission. The cameras caught him standing over Shedeur, clapping aggressively in his face, yelling something that clearly wasn't encouragement. He wasn't offering advice or strategy. He was talking down to him, leaning over him, trying to embarrass him. It was the kind of display that instantly makes everyone watching uncomfortable, because it didn't look like a teammate interaction, it looked like an attack. You could see Shedeur staring forward, refusing to get pulled into the chaos, but Judy kept going, invading his space, clearly trying to force a reaction. And that's when it got even uglier. Ethan Pochich, the veteran center, had to step in physically and separate them. Think about how bad it has to be for a lineman in the middle of a game while dealing with his own assignments to stop everything and play peacekeeper. The fans in the stadium saw enough to start buzzing. The broadcast replayed the moment. Social media immediately exploded. Because this wasn't just a disagreement over a route. This wasn't a miscommunication. This was a teammate publicly undermining the quarterback in front of 70,000 witnesses and the entire country watching at home. And it wasn't the first sign of frustration. Judy had been shaking his head after incomplete passes earlier. He'd been pacing the sideline. But this crossed a line you do not cross in this league, especially when you're supposed to be the guy helping your quarterback succeed. Because if you're going to confront someone mid-game, you better have the performance to back it up.
And that's exactly where this whole situation takes a turn for the absurd. Because once you look at the actual numbers behind the drama, Jerry Jeudy has absolutely no room to talk. What made this moment instantly go from heated exchange to full-blown crisis is the power dynamic involved. We're not talking about two rookies barking at each other or a coach correcting a mistake. This was a highly paid veteran, a player with a massive contract and a supposed leadership role, aggressively targeting the quarterback that the organization has openly committed to developing. And when a receiver goes after the quarterback like that, it sends the worst signal possible to the rest of the team. Because everyone in that locker room knows exactly how the NFL works. Quarterbacks run the show. Quarterbacks control careers. Quarterbacks decide who eats. So when Jerry Jeudy, the guy who needs the quarterback to get him the ball, steps up and tries to publicly humiliate him, it doesn't just show frustration, it screams entitlement. It tells the entire team, I'm bigger than the program. My ego matters more than the mission. And that kind of attitude spreads like wildfire through a locker room. What's even crazier is this didn't happen in a private conversation or a closed-door meeting. Judy get it out in the open, on national TV, with cameras capturing every second. He wasn't just challenging Shedeur Sanders. Whether he realized it or not, he was challenging the coaches, the culture, and the people signing his checks. And ownership? They're not blind. They saw the clip just like everyone else. They heard the crowd reaction. They watched social media tear into Judy for acting like a diva instead of a leader. When a moment becomes that public, it demands a response. Because if nothing is done, the message becomes clear. Disrespect is allowed here. Reports say that inside the building, players were stunned he crossed that line. Not because tension never happens, every NFL sideline has moments, but because it was the rookie quarterback Judy decided to unload on. The guy just trying to do his job. The guy still learning the league. The guy the Browns believe could be their future. And that's where this situation starts to boil over. Because when the guy pointing fingers is also the one dropping passes and killing drives, people notice. Coaches notice. The owner definitely notices. And if you think this meltdown came out of nowhere, it didn't. Jerry Jeudy's history tells a very clear story, and this sideline explosion was simply the latest episode in a pattern that's been building for years. This wasn't the first time Jerry Jeudy has shown frustration when things aren't going his way. Fans and analysts have taken notice over the years, pointing out moments where his emotions have boiled over instead of turning into production on the field. And when a pattern keeps repeating, people start connecting the dots.
One of the most talked about examples came from a very public interaction with Hall of Famer Steve Smith Sr. A while back, Smith openly critiqued Judy's performance, saying he wasn't living up to the expectations that come with being a first-round pick. It was blunt, but it came from someone who knows the wide receiver position better than almost anyone. Later, when Smith tried to clear the air face-to-face, hoping to squash any tension, the exchange didn't go smoothly. Cameras captured the moment, and Smith later explained that Judy refused the apology and responded sharply. The situation blew up online immediately, and the reputation hit stuck. Analysts clipped that moment and labeled it as a sign Judy struggles with criticism. Fans used it as proof that he takes offense faster than he takes accountability. It wasn't a one-day story. It became a part of how people viewed him, not as a villain, but as a player who didn't like hearing anything he didn't want to hear. And that's where the Browns situation gets messy. Because when frustration becomes visible, when gestures, body language, or sideline reactions turn into the headline, it stops being about one play. It becomes a narrative. Whether fair or not, Judy's name has been connected to that narrative before. So when he approached Shedeur Sanders the way he did, right there under the bright lights of national television, a lot of players and fans immediately said, "Here we go again." They didn't see leadership. They didn't see a veteran helping the young quarterback. They saw a familiar reaction, blame first, reflection later. But if you're going to call out a teammate, if you're going to show that kind of fire in front of the entire world, you better be producing at a level that earns you the right to do it. And that's where this whole situation takes a sharp turn, because once you look at the numbers this season, the performance does not match the attitude. The numbers tell a story that Jerry Jeudy probably doesn't want anyone talking about. While he's marching up to a rookie quarterback and demanding better play, his own production this season has fallen far short of what a top-paid receiver should bring to the table. Across the year, he has barely cleared the 400-yard mark. One touchdown. One. For a player who was hyped as a dynamic weapon, those numbers aren't just underwhelming, they're disappointing. And when you dig a little deeper, it gets even uglier. He has one of the highest drop totals in the league this season. Not just a couple of mistakes, a pattern of missed opportunities, drive-killing miscues that have directly taken points off the board. So when he's in a teammate's face demanding perfection, it feels a little backwards, because a receiver who can't secure the ball consistently has no business critiquing the guy delivering it. If anything, the role should be reversed, with the quarterback pulling Judy aside and asking why he can't hold on to the football.
That's the part that made fans and players shake their heads the moment this clip hit the internet. It wasn't a star carrying the offense losing his cool. It was a receiver whose production doesn't come close to matching his paycheck, acting like he runs the entire show.
And in the NFL, there is nothing teammates resent more than a player who yells loudest when he should be listening the hardest. Judy wasn't just wrong for how he acted. He picked the worst possible moment to remind everyone how little he's actually delivered. What makes this entire situation so revealing is the difference in how these two players handle adversity. The rookie that Jerry Jeudy tried to embarrass has shown more poise and maturity in a handful of starts than some veterans show in entire careers. While others lose control, Shedeur Sanders stays locked in, focused on solutions instead of drama. In his early appearances, he has already shown he can make smart decisions, protect the football, and give his team a chance to win. He isn't panicking, he isn't pointing fingers. Even when the offense has struggled around him, he stepped to the podium after games and taken responsibility like a seasoned veteran. And here's the part that has really impressed people inside the building. When reporters try to bait him into criticizing teammates or coaches, he refuses. He pushes accountability onto himself, not onto the receivers who dropped passes or the linemen who missed blocks. He talks about building trust, developing chemistry, and growing together as a unit, even when he has every reason to throw someone under the bus. That is leadership. That is the mentality organizations build around. That is the attitude every player is supposed to have when things get difficult. Compare that to what we saw from Jerry Jeudy, a veteran raising his voice at the youngest guy on the field simply because he was frustrated with his own performance. One player is clamoring for attention. The other is earning respect. One is combusting under pressure. The other rises above it. So when that sideline moment went viral, the people who matter in Cleveland took note of exactly who handled it like a franchise player and who didn't. Because if you're Jimmy Haslam, if you're the front office, if you're the coaches, you're not just watching what happens on the field. You're watching who your team will follow into the future. And that's when everything shifts to the man who actually runs this franchise, the owner who is absolutely furious with what he saw. Here's where everything becomes bigger than football. When that sideline meltdown happened, it wasn't just fans reacting. It wasn't just social media tearing into the moment. People higher up in the organization noticed, especially the person who cares most about the image and direction of this franchise, the owner. Those who follow the Browns closely know something important. The organization has made it very clear that they believe in Shedeur Sanders. They see him as a long-term investment, a future leader, someone who represents what they want this team to become. So when a veteran publicly tried to belittle that player with the cameras rolling, many inside the building viewed it as more than a disagreement. It looked like a challenge to the culture they're trying to build.
And ownership has never been shy about protecting that culture. Rumors around the facility suggest that top decision-makers were not happy. Not about the incompletions, not about the loss, but about the message that moment sent. Because if a receiver can storm up to the quarterback and treat him like that in front of the world, then who's actually in control? Who's setting the tone? Who's leading? When the clip finished circulating, insiders say the conversation at the top became very serious, very fast. Questions like, is this the kind of leadership we want? Is this the attitude we're paying for? What does this tell the rest of the roster? And most importantly, what message do we send if we let this slide? Because the Browns can live with dropped passes, they can live with bad games, they can even live with frustration boiling over from time to time. But what they will not allow is someone undermining the player they're trying to elevate into a franchise quarterback, especially not a veteran who's supposed to set the standard. That's why some people around the league believe this incident could be a turning point, a moment where leadership draws a line and says, this is not how we operate. Not anymore. Not here. And once an owner feels disrespected through the treatment of his quarterback, that's when careers start getting shorter, fast. Because a team can coach dropped passes, but you can't coach humility into someone who refuses to respect the future of the franchise. And right now, all signs are pointing toward one conclusion. Something is about to change. Now, the big question becomes, where does this leave Jerry Jeudy? Because this wasn't one emotional mistake that people will simply forget. This was a veteran calling out the quarterback to franchises trying to build around in the most public way possible. And there's only so long a team can ignore a player who becomes more of a distraction than a solution. Behind closed doors, conversations are already shifting toward accountability. Coaches want the offense back on the same page. The front office wants unity, not division. And the locker room? They want to know whether leadership is serious about protecting the culture they're supposed to buy into. If Judy keeps his head down, fixes the effort questions, and actually delivers on the field, maybe this becomes a bump in the road. Maybe this moment turns into motivation, not a wedge. But if the drops continue, if the frustration continues, if the finger-pointing continues,
then this situation gets a whole lot darker. Because no matter how talented a player might be, there's a limit. Teams can't move forward when the loudest voice in the room doesn't match the production. Players pay attention to that. They notice who gets away with what. And if accountability only applies to some people, it applies to no one. That's why the pressure is now fully on Judy. Every route he runs will be watched. Every pass that touches his hands will be judged. Every reaction will be analyzed. The grace period is gone, and the expectations have never been higher. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders continues moving forward, getting more reps, more experience, and more trust from the people who matter most. His confidence isn't going anywhere. His role in this franchise is only growing. So while one player is fighting to keep his reputation alive, the other is quietly building a future the team wants to believe in. And that puts Jerry Jeudy at a crossroads. Adapt and align with the team's vision, or watch the organization move on without him. This chapter isn't finished. It's only getting started. One moment on the sideline has now turned into a defining storyline for the remainder of the season. A rookie quarterback showing maturity beyond his years, and a veteran receiver struggling to live up to the role he believes he deserves. The contrast couldn't be sharper. One is focused on building something. The other seems more focused on placing blame. Now the entire league is watching to see how Cleveland responds. Will Jerry Jeudy take responsibility and rise to the moment? Will he start helping his quarterback instead of attacking him? Or will he continue down a path that has already pushed him to the center of controversy more than once? And what about Shedeur Sanders? Has he already shown enough poise, enough grit, and enough leadership to prove he's the future of this franchise? Or does he still have more to prove before everyone buys in? Those are the questions that are about to shape everything. The locker room energy, the offensive identity, and possibly even the future of multiple careers in Cleveland. So now it's your turn to weigh in. Do the Browns need to move on from Jerry Jeudy before this situation gets even worse? Is Shedeur Sanders already earning your respect as the new face of this team? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear what you think. And if you believe disrespect has no place in a locker room trying to build something real, if you think leadership should be earned with performance, not demanded through shouting, then make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is far from over, and every game from here out is going to add fuel to the fire. The Browns are heading toward a breaking point, and what happens next could change the franchise forever. Stay tuned, because this drama is just getting started.